for yielding. You know, I was listening to the gentleman from New York, and I sincerely appreciate his warm, heartfelt advice for the Republican Party. I'm amazed at the characterization of opposition to a president's policies as somehow as opposition to the country. I fundamentally reject that. I think that's a gross characterization, and I think on behalf of everybody on the GOP side, that is an absurd argument. Now, that being said, I want to pick up on a thread and a subtext of what we heard from our friends on the other side of the aisle, and it's a very interesting thing. I'm not being sarcastic. It is a very hopeful thing. It's this, Mr. Speaker. Did you notice today that there is nobody who is defending the status quo of our current tax code? Nobody. We will not hear any voice from our friends on the other side defending the current tax code. We will hear no voice today on this side. I haven't listened to our friends on the other side of the dome, but I'm hunching that there's nobody on the other side among all those members who are defending the status quo. And so what does that mean for us today? That means that there's an unbelievable opportunity. There's an opportunity that is born of recognition of a failed system. Some characterize it as crony capitalism. That is, if you're connected, if you're somebody of means, if you're able to come into this town and with a sharp elbow insert something into the tax code and manipulate it, then you get an economic win at the expense of everybody else. The gentleman from New York asked a rhetorical question a couple of minutes ago, and I jotted it down. He said, what do we need a path for? We need a path to get out of this. That's what we need a path for. And with all due respect to the President is not leading on a pathway that shows us how to get out of this. So what do you have the chairman of the committee, what do you have the GOP in the House doing right now? They're saying, look, let's not defend the status quo. Let's instead completely transform this debate. And let's focus in on one word, and that is the word of competitiveness. How do we create in this country the most competitive tax jurisdiction in the world? Could you imagine how great it could be? Could you imagine what it would be like if our tax code were a foundation upon which what could happen? You could have entrepreneurs who are willing to take risk because there is a possibility of reward in the future. Right now, they're being told from this town that if you built it, you didn't really build it, and we don't want to have you take credit for it. That's ridiculous. That's absurd. That's a worldview that we should shun and reject and move away from. We need to pass this. We need to pass this urgently, and I urge an aye vote, and I yield back.